Aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Dang, I love that theme song.
Yeah.
Tiffany picked that out for me. Yeah, when I
Wow.
first started the show, which I just had my anniversary on the 24th.
I saw that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Congratulations.
thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am Angelo Rocha. I am the host of Vet for Vets on the Joco Community Radio, a show where I take local Johnson County veterans or veterans of any sort, first responder veterans, what of all sorts, including military. And today I have a very, very special guest who I've had on my show before. And the story behind this gentleman is I was eating at our place with my wife, having a delicious breakfast, and I look over and there's this man with this fantastic smile. And he's there with his wife. They're laughing it up, and I'm going, okay, he's up there. And I see his hat, and it says Vietnam veteran. And I'm like, oh man, this guy he is happy. He's probably been through some shit. And so I approached him, and I gave him my card. I was like, sir, my name is Angelo Rocha. I'm the host of Vet for Vets, a local Johnson County show on the radio, on the Joco Community Radio, where I interview veterans like yourself, and we talk and discuss and chit chat and bullshit about your life before, during, and after the military service. And you went, well, be damn. I was like, I'd love to be on your show. What's your name? And I said, my name is Angelo Rocha. And Larry Rasberry goes, when do you want me on? And I can be on right now. So I gave him my information. Next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, he's on my show, and he told his story about him being in Vietnam and his experience in the military and other things that he went through, especially his wife. And he didn't get to tell his entire story. Okay. But we'll get to it in a second, Larry. Okay. First thing I want to bring up is something that's important to me, and I know it's important to you because you've probably dealt with this and people close to you, is PTSD, depression, and anything else that a veteran like yourself, if you're listening, if you're a veteran, people that are listening, if you're a veteran, sometimes you're depressed. Sometimes you feel like the world is against you. Sometimes you feel like you have nowhere to go. Sometimes you feel like you have you have nothing left, and all you have left to do is grab your gun, and then you end yourself. I just want to let you know right now that there are people like me and Larry out there that will answer your phone call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and will help you find that help that you need. Doesn't matter what it takes, we're going to get you that help. If I can't solve it, then maybe somebody I know might solve it. Larry, he's been around a while, so he's probably has connections. He knows people that knows people that knows people. He probably knows people that created companies that people know now because he's been around a while.
Thanks for that.
It's okay. You are a seasoned veteran. I don't call them elderly. I don't call them old, but you've been around the block a time or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are one of these veterans, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, first responders of any type, and especially military, if you are one of those and you are going through some shit, you can call 988. Again, that's 988. You'll be taken to one of those messaging things. Press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. And then as soon as you click 1 for English, if you speak English, you'll be taken to an actual real person, live person that will listen to you, whatever it is that you're going through. If it involves marital issues, financial issues, drug addictions, gambling addictions of any sort, or other things like PTSD and depression. If you have a gun in your hand and you don't know what to do, 988 is the place to go. Okay, once again, that's 988. Okay, now that we have that settled, Larry, what's your take on, I'm going to Vietnam veteran, what's your take on PTSD and that's depression and anything that relates to a veteran maybe feeling like they have nowhere to go?
Well, back during the Vietnam era, we didn't know whatever you called it.
Even the 2000s, they didn't know what that was.
We didn't know what that was. We knew what depression.
They called it shell shock back then.
Okay, right. You're right. That's right.
That's right.
You wasn't even there.
Yeah, no.
And anyway, but there was a lot of depression from guys coming out of Vietnam. And a lot of them, the way they solved it was they re-enlisted and went back to Vietnam.
Because they maybe missed it.
That's where they felt more comfortable.
That's
where they felt alive.
Never really heard of that.
They felt more alive, and they got out into the world. And at that time you were having the protesters and everybody was calling you baby killers and spitting on you, and people just the guys just some of them couldn't handle it, so they would just re-up and go back to Nam. That's I worked with guys. Of course, I was in a headquarters division in Saigon. I worked with guys that had been over there 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh.
They had families over there. They'd been there so long. But they in Nam, if you re-upped for 6 months, if you extended for 6 months, you got a 30-day leave. So they would come home for 30 days, come back to the States for 30 days. And then they go back and another 6 months, they get another 30 days. So 2 months out of 14, they got to get away from Nam. And if they had family back in the States, the guy that was my boss, in the radio repair shop, he did that. He'd been there 5 years. He had a lady and they had a son. She was a Vietnam lady. They couldn't get her papers for her to go back to the States because her village all had burnt and all the records, her birth record, everything had burnt with it. So he had family in Washington, so he would go back to Washington every 30 days and stay for every 6 months, stay for 30 days, and he would come back, and he was doing that. But there was a lot of guys over there that in headquarters division that had been there a long time.
And you've been through some stuff, right?
Well, I haven't been through a firefight.
But you were there.
I was there.
I'm sure you got to see things that no human probably has ever seen.
I got to hear some gunfire and hear some rockets go off and things. But I would go into base camps, fly into base camps and stay. Some of them I stayed a week. Some of them I stayed 2 days, and as long as it took me to fix their radios.
Yeah.
And they couldn't bring the radios to me, so I went to them. And so we had some, one place I was in, 2 days after I left, Charlie got in and put satchel charges under every building in the compound. And the only thing saved the compound was that only about half of them went off. So I missed that by 2 days. But
were the rest made in China?
I don't know, but they were sure
just
lucky.
making a joke about how Chinese crap and never really works anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, it was. But that was the place that I want to talk about later. That I met some really.
It's okay. You can keep talking. I
met some really interesting guys in these base camps. And I was in MACV-SOG, Study and Observation Group, which had every branch of the service in it. We had everything from Coast Guard to Green Beret, Navy SEALs, and a lot of...
Yeah, just pretty much all the military branches.
We had all the military branches as advisors. Okay? So I was in a group that we were really involved in Vietnam. I mean, our compound, we had our own photography shop. We had our own weather station. We had our own course. And the commander, it was a Navy commander. He had a West Point exec. He had a Air Force secretary.
You had a maid.
Oh, well, yeah, I wished. No, but anyway, it was, and we had one deal that was really interesting. We had a one whole department when these guys would fly over and take pictures of Vietnam, or take pictures of a country. This department analyzed those pictures, and then they would give, if they saw anything, they would call the appropriate advisor and let them know.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but I really did some interesting things for them too.
I want to ask, what do you remember the most about Vietnam? Everything that you've been through, all the months that you were there.
Yeah.
If you can take one thing that you recall that sticks in your mind, even all these years later, what would you say that is?
It was
because some people say smells. Some people say the environment. Some people say the forest. They love the forest.
Yeah, the thing that stuck in my mind more than anything was that I had Vietnamese people tell me, get out of our country. We don't need you. And here you are fighting for them.
Yeah.
And they're telling us to get out.
Like, oh, we can do it ourselves. Get out. Get
Yeah,
out.
and
We
that
can do it.
lasted how long?
Makes sense.
That lasted how long after after we pulled out in 75? But we, like I said, we spent, I did some interesting things there. One of the things, I don't know if you know about helicopters, but when they get shot down, the pilots have a little radio. It's good for code for 5 miles and voice for 2 miles. Every one of them's got one of those, and I repaired some of them.
Oh, nice.
But they brought me 5 of them one day, and they're crystal control, and they wanted me to change the frequency. And I said, why? They said, because when a helicopter crashes, Charlie knows that they've had those radios.
Yeah.
If the pilot's dead, they'll get one of those radios and call for help. And then when it's an ambush, when they come to get them. So we want to change the frequency on some. I said, well, okay. I didn't do it. My boss did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't authorized to do something like that. But anyway, just, I landed in a helicopter one day. I was catching a ride. I landed in a helicopter. We landed somewhere, and about 4 or 5 guys got out of the helicopter, went across about 50 yards to a forest line there. Some guys come out, and I asked the helicopter pilot, I said, what's going on? He said, those guys are in Cambodia, and our guys don't want to go into Cambodia, so they take their supplies and meet them at the line. So I'm 55 years later. I guess I can talk about this. I couldn't talk about it then, but 55 years later. But we had we knew about prison. We knew where all the prison camps were at.
Yeah.
And they were always trying to get.
You never want to risk it.
No,
nobody ever wanted to risk it because
no,
they would.
no.
I've read reports that the reason why the U.S. military didn't want to go into a lot of these POW camps that the Vietnamese had our soldiers in, it's just because they would kill all our soldiers if they even made one attempt.
Right.
And then they didn't want to risk it.
Yeah. Did I tell you about the gentleman I met about a month ago?
Tell us, man. I would love to have that gentleman on.
Oh, I would too. I was
7 years.
He was in Hanoi Hilton for 7 years. He was a
POW for 7 years. I can't imagine even being a POW for a couple months. I imagine.
And I didn't mean. I don't know if I made him mad or what, but I said, "Was you there when Hanoi Jane was there?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I was there." And he didn't have much. He didn't want.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about it because what
nobody
she did.
Yeah. But they, I like to tell you when I called you, I have met so many interesting people.
Yeah.
So many interesting people that I think that you would enjoy talking to on this show.
That's what this show is for. There's a lot of people in Johnson County and not a lot of people say it's for vets for Johnson County, but I talk to veterans of all sorts.
Right.
I'll talk to from California. I've talked to for Tiffany's father, and he's in a totally different city.
Right.
I've talked to people out of state. There's people what I want to tell is veteran stories. I want, because there's a lot of veterans who walk in day out through Walmarts, through grocery stores, through our place restaurants, breakfast place, and nobody knows what they've been through. Even if they're wearing a Vietnam hat or an Iraq hat or whatever Korean War hat or World War II veteran hat. The matter of fact is, even if you weren't a combat veteran, the matter of fact is your job was very important. Doesn't matter what it was, and like you did radios.
Right.
That's literally one of the most vital ways to communicate in the military. If that radio was messed up, you fixed it and got up and running, and that's vital. Years later, 50 years later, you might think to yourself, "Oh, it was just radios," but you don't understand. I could probably guarantee that many, many, many countless lives were saved because of people like yourself. A battalion of radio experts, people that were able to get communication between, a firefight and the forward operating base or headquarters for example. And you were able to get that communication going. That's why, I thank you for doing what you did, because I'm quite sure deep down somewhere right now and somewhere in the U.S., there's probably a veteran. He might be on his last leg. He might not be on his last leg, but there's probably one that you helped out without you even knowing about it.
Well, I appreciate that. I thank you for that. I have, you talking about doing out of state. I have my best friend since I was 4 years old. He and I were not same
That's
time.
only a few years ago.
It wasn't just a couple years. He was we ended up not the same time, but he was in infantry.
Okay.
And he was actually wounded really bad. And he's been disabled since 69. Great guy. I mean, he took it and built on it. You know, he didn't let it destroy his life.
That's good.
He's made a great life. He's having some problems right now, but he's every day he gets up. And I call him about once a week. See how he's doing.
Hey Larry, you got a fan on social media messaged Larry. This is your wife, Mary.
Oh, okay.
Who's paying attention? Mary says, Larry, this is your wife. This is one fantastic husband and just a great human being. Love this man to the moon and back. What kind of feelings do you get when your wife that you've been with for so long? What kind of 50s? Jesus Christ, Larry.
And she still talks like that about me. Isn't that something? Wow. I'll tell her. I'll show her appreciation when I get home.
Well,
she's.
I tell you,
I can't say enough about her either. I told you before we started.
That's every man's dream. That's every man's wish. That's every man's yearning, is to have a woman, or in some cases a man, and vice versa. Just somebody that loves them no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
No matter what. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. It really is now. It's but we've been best friends since high school. And we've been together and we're still best friends.
Yeah. Okay, microphone.
And we're still best friends. And we
well, you got yourself a new friend, okay? Okay. Because I have a feeling that that you and I are gonna have a good friendship.
I would love that.
And I'll be here for you no matter what. I'll help you with whatever way I can, and I'm glad I met somebody like yourself, Larry.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way. I'm glad I met you too. You having this program, you're helping so many guys out there, and the people that you have on the show, is important. And if you like, you want to talk about the VA a little bit.
We can talk about whatever you want. What I want is the people of Johnson County, or people listening on social media. What I want is for them to know who you are as a human being. So that means if there's something that you want people to know about you, I got a missing leg, I got a missing finger, what you do, if you want people to know about who you are as a person, for example, I'm going to be in your shoes. You are hosting Vet for Vets. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Larry Rasberry. I'm the host of Vet for Vets, and I have with me an Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran named Angelo Rocha. Angelo, can you tell people about yourself? Well, I was an immigrant. I moved to the U.S. in the mid '80s. I speak 4 languages, two and a half fluently, and the other one, which is French, sometimes it's kind of a little offset. I have a sister. I love art. I love films. I love TV. I love productions. I have a lot of people in my life who motivated me and were really great peers to me. They literally formed me into the person I am today. One good example of which is it's weird, I reconnected with him. He used to be my middle school teacher, who happened to be a really great figure in my life. He doesn't know it. Yeah, I'm sure, because he ended up being a principal later on. His name is Mike Landy. I'm hoping he watches this later on. But he was a really, really powerful figure in my life, because he was the one that kind of pushed me to show more of a creative side that I didn't even know I had, and I am who I am because of people like Mike Landy, people like Judy Fusello, and And I joined the military because I wanted to give back to my country something that I felt like they needed, which was somebody like me to thank them for giving my family such a good life. If it wasn't for America, I don't know what my family would be doing in Portugal when we're, now,
Right.
years later.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of like what I want to do. It's what I want to, and you can talk about whatever you want, Larry. If you want to talk about horse racing, if that's what you love, if you love radios, Larry, you talk about radio.
Okay. Well, okay. Start off with, I grew up in the 50s or the 50s and 60s, a great time.
That was not that very long ago.
Oh, it was
The greatest generation. It's the greatest.
Over,
It's the greatest
war was
decades.
over. Everybody's getting back to their lives.
Yeah.
We're having a good time, happy days, you know. And then my dad worked on the railroad, and he was a telegrapher, telegraph operator, and he got me interested in ham radio. And I took I got my ham license in 63 to code, and then I got my talking license in 64.
Yeah.
And I used him about 3 times and went back to code because I really like code.
Yeah.
And the ham radio was a very good for a boy that lived in a little old town in Arkansas that could converse with people in New York and Washington, and one of my best not transaction, but one of the best deals that I had. When you want to talk to somebody, you just put CQ and then your call sign.
Yeah, correct.
And I got a response from Cuba, and it was a man. He was a ham radio operator in Cuba, but he had a family.
Was that even allowed?
I don't know. I don't know how they got by with it.
That's where
But
socialist
anyway,
countries tend to monitor stuff like that.
And I was trying to think. I don't know if this was during the Cuban crisis or what.
Yeah.
But it was a man that lived on the other side of Arkansas. His family was down there, and they were trying to get his daughter back to Fayetteville, and they were trying to let the family in Fayetteville know when she was going to get there.
Oh.
So they give me all the information in code. I called the people. So you don't know me, I'm 17 years old. You don't know who I am, but do you know so-and-so? Yes. And I told them what it was.
Yeah.
About a month later, I got this real nice letter in the mail thanking me for letting them know that their niece had gotten there safely.
Oh man,
and that was just a great.
That's just another note into Larry Rasberry's life.
Yeah.
In case you're listening just now, or if you just caught on, I'm here with Larry Rasberry. He's a local Johnson County veteran. He's been to Vietnam. He was a radio man. He literally saved lives without he even knowing about it. Maybe he does know about it, but either way, thank you for listening. So, Larry, continue.
Okay. Well, when I got out, I went to college for a year, and then Mary and I got married, and then we were married for
say that 3 times
a year
fast.
and a half. And
Mary got married.
Yeah. We were married about a year and a half, and I got drafted. And when they went in, they give you a bunch of these tests. I don't know did you get tests when you went in to see what you were better qualified for?
Yeah, they have it. They're called ASVAB now.
Okay.
It's like the Armed Services vote. It's some weird test. Yeah, it's called the ASVAB.
So anyway, they told me, said, well, you qualified for 21 schools. And I said, okay, I want to be in radio. So he said, you want to be a radio operator or you want to be a radio repairman? Well, all my ham equipment, when I got my license, I built all of my ham equipment from Heathkit. You ever hear of Heathkit?
No, I have not.
Okay, Heathkit used to, like, you could buy all kinds of kits. You can buy a TV from Heathkit, but they're out of, you can't do it now. But I built all my radio, my receiver, everything.
So you're electrically savvy then?
Well, no, I can follow a step in a Heathkit book. But anyway, I got it. That's how I used it. Well, so when they told me, said we can do an operator or a repairman, I said, how long is operator school? About 8 weeks. How long is a repairman school? 21 weeks. That's the one I want. Besides that, operators get shot at. Yep. A lot more than radio repairmen.
They have to tote around a gigantic radio on the back. Sorry, I'm not doing that.
I have gotten radios in that had bullet holes in them.
Do you notice every like war movie, Vietnam, World War II, every single radio operator gets shot? Every
I
single
guess
one of
that's
them.
what's
In
in my
every film.
head. I guess. I guess.
The scene that sticks out in my mind is the movie with Tom Hanks, the Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
He's on the radio. The guy, his radio operator talks to him. He's like, "Sir, they're not coming," and he's like, "Just tell them to go and retreat a little bit to the." And all of a sudden, Tom Hanks turns back around. The guy's head is blown off.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
like every single radio operator in every single war movie is killed. Why is that?
I don't know. But you never see a radio repairman.
You never see a
You've never
repairman.
seen one of those. But I was in Nam. My ham radio experience came into play there again.
Yeah.
I mean, it got me into my MOS.
Yeah.
Well, that's that for us.
Yeah, just saying that we're going to a commercial break.
Okay.
Remember what you're about to talk about.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Vet for Vets. We'll be right back. It's only a little 2-minute break. We love you guys, and stay tuned when we get back.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow listeners, welcome to Vet for Vets. I'm your host, Angelo Rocha. This is the Joco Community Radio, Vet for Vets, a show where I take local Johnson County veterans and I sit down with them and I have a little chit chat, a little conversation, a little discussion. We pretty much bullshit about their life before, during, and after their military service. There's a lot of great veterans, military veterans,
Yes.
first responder veterans, and other types of veterans, i.e. EMTs, which is technically first responders. But before we get on to our second half of our show, I just want to mention that Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is absolutely free on all Android and Apple devices. Simply go to your store and search for it. Joco Community Radio. Look for it. Check out our lineup and more at jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more are brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's HAIL as in HAIL. HAIL.
Okay.
That's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. That's TheTiffie.com. That's Tiffany's personal website. If you want to buy some nifty stuff, really good stuff, good looking stuff, that's the place to go. Highly recommend it, especially if it's for Valentine's Day, Christmas is coming up, you need ideas, go to that website. Okay, so we're here with Larry Rasberry, a Vietnam War veteran. Like myself, I am a military Iraq veteran and other locations. There's no need for me. So how long were you in the military?
I was in for 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you saw Vietnam in only the 3 years.
Yeah, I went in and in December of 1967. Basic training, my 21 weeks of school.
Yeah.
Then I went to White Sands Missile Range.
Oh, I've been there
for 9 months.
White Sands.
Oh
man,
I loved it out there.
Have you ever been to the National Training Center, NTC?
No, I haven't been there, but I did get to see the sled.
Oh, nice.
I actually worked on a project that there is a bunkhouse at the end of that track.
Yeah,
and we installed some equipment in that bunkhouse, so I got to go the full length of the sled and see the pool of water and everything. But then I got Mary found out she went in on Wednesday, found out she was pregnant on Wednesday.
Yeah, you remember the day?
Yes, because
I don't even remember what happened yesterday. How can you remember that so far back?
I remember because Wednesday was dependent day.
Oh my gosh!
But the next day, I got orders for Vietnam, so I called my parents on Wednesday night and said, "Hey, you're going to be a grandparent." Next day, I go, "Hey, I'm going to Vietnam."
Yep.
But so Mary wants to brag on me. I brag on her. I left for Vietnam in May. She was 7.5 months pregnant.
Goodness.
She had the baby on the 16th of July without me. She raised that baby for 6 months without me and did a fantastic job. I mean, a baby couldn't have a better mom.
Yeah.
The first time I saw them,
keep talking. I'll just make sure you don't knock over that.
The first time I saw my oldest boy was in Hawaii.
Wow.
And he looked at me and says, "Who are you?" I mean, he didn't say that, but he kind of looked at me,
Yeah.
But I got to spend a week with him and them in Vietnam, and then 2 months later I come home. But that was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do is leave that day. And I know it was hard on her being, of course, she had family there.
Yeah.
You know, my mom and dad her mom and dad were there, most of her brothers.
So she had a good support system.
Yeah, she's from a family of 12.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, they had a good support system.
Good.
And, of course, I'm from a family of 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's her family's a lot more fun than mine. Yeah. But but she really, she was a trooper through all that. And when I got home, it was just like, we took off. It was like, we got married again. And
has it flown by for you? Like it feels like it was just yesterday that she said I do and you said I do.
Oh yeah, and she said. I mean, I look back and we moved to Burleson in 2014. That was 9 years ago. I mean, where did it go? And
I think that's what Burleson does to everybody.
But the first time I used to work in Crowley in 1982 and 83 down at Harvest and Fisher. When I come to Burleson, all that was here was the high school.
That's it.
And the DMV on
Old Town.
Yeah,
Old Town. That's it.
On Johnson County Road. I mean, on John Jones.
Yeah.
That was a 2-lane highway or 2-way road that come back here, and we come down here and go to lunch sometimes. But anyway, when I got to Nam, got into Saigon, and they started sending me around to do repair. One of the places that I went was a place called Kontum. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the mountain yards.
No.
Okay, the mountain yards were kind of like the Korean and Australian. They were a nationality that lived in Vietnam. They were very tough fighters. And I read an article in VFW while back that they had moved their whole nationality to Houston, and they have settled in Houston.
Wow.
So anyway, I was in Pontoon a week before Christmas, and I run into a guy, the guy that was over the section there, comm center, liked to build antennas, but he didn't know if they worked or not because he didn't know how to talk on a radio. Well, he found out I was a ham radio operator.
Yeah.
So he said, "Hey, let's test this antenna I just built." And I put out a CQ, and I got a hold of a guy in California. Don't remember what city.
All the way from Vietnam?
Yeah. Got a hold in
Wow.
California. And I said, "Hey, are you busy right now?" No. I said, "Would you call my wife?" And he said, "Well, sure." So I give him my parents' phone number, and I said, "Tell her I'll call back in an hour. We'll call back in an hour." And she just lived not too far from them, and they went and got her. And in an hour, I called him back. He called her, and we had about a 15-minute conversation.
Wow.
About a week before Christmas.
Yeah, we had satellite radios. I don't know if you had satellite radios back in the. Yeah,
hey,
we
my
had.
Brother-in-law was
we could
Iraq.
be anywhere in the mountains in Iraq.
Yeah.
Or Iran.
Yeah.
We'd still be able to call using our satellite phones. This is before mobile phones.
Right. My brother-in-law was in Iraq, and they had to FaceTime. They FaceTime.
Yeah, we did. We FaceTime. We did Zoom or whatever it was called back then. It wasn't called Zoom. It was something else. Yeah, we did that.
But of course, it was a camp. Word got out, and between then and Christmas, in a couple of days, I put through about 15 or 16 calls for guys to their families right before Christmas. And this guy in California, I wish I got his name and everything because he stuck with me. I mean, 2 days, he stuck with me for 6 hours, putting phone calls through for these guys, and so that was a good thing for me. It kind of, made me feel like I accomplished something in Vietnam.
Well, if you think about it in retrospect, it's possible. I'm not saying it did, but what if one of those guys who you had connected to their family, what if he had gotten killed later on?
Yeah.
And you don't know it,
right.
But he had gotten killed, but at least he got to talk to his family and say, "Hey, look, I love you. I got to go."
Maybe it was the Lord guiding, God, I don't know. But like you said, I don't know what happened. I left right before Christmas, and I actually got back Christmas Day.
Really?
To Saigon. And, but then after I got out of the service, the radio repair training I got actually got me my first 2 jobs. And
wow.
Because one of them was I was working for a vending machine company,
Yeah.
and those guys have been working on it for 25 years, and they could tell you, they could go to a pinball machine and say, "Okay, it's doing this, so it's got to be in here." I didn't know anything about pinball machines, but I could pull out a schematic and tell them where the trouble was, usually before they could.
Yeah.
And, it amazed them that I could read a schematic, and all the schematics in all of the pinball machines were still brand new, never been taken out of the envelope.
Wow.
And the same thing in the jukeboxes and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then I got a job in Ohio as a working for a contracting company for United Telephone, and we installed telephone equipment in offices.
Yeah.
We new 100 lines or something like that. So that experience got me those 2 jobs, and then I went to college on the GI Bill.
Yeah.
Got my college degree and come down here is in IT, and we've been here since 1970. We moved down here.
So right after that.
In 79, we moved down here in 79.
Do you know what happened? Something miraculous happened in 79. Did you ever hear
born?
that? That's the year
I think I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, that was the year I was born, 79. Good job. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I worked for several companies. My last job was with Benny Keith Foods, and is in IT, and I enjoyed the work. I really did enjoy the work. We did a lot of good work for Benny Keith, the warehouses. In 2018, I had a neighbor that was with the VA. He was going through some stuff medically, and he kept telling Larry, you got to go sign up with the VA. You just got to go sign up with the VA.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't really need anything, I need some hearing aids. Go sign up with VA.
Yeah.
So finally I went. Went up on a Monday, filled out Agent Orange and some other paperwork. They give me my card. Wednesday, I went in and got my hearing test. 2 weeks later, I went and got my hearing aids. So I thought, that's what I want. No, they want you to go to Dallas and take some tests for Agent Orange. So anyway, over the next 6 months to a year, I had a wound on my ankle that wouldn't heal, and I went over there. And while I was there, one of the doctors told me he didn't like my blood test, so they gave me a bone marrow biopsy, and they found out I had multiple myeloma.
Yeah.
And they attributed it to Agent Orange after all these years.
Yeah.
So anyway, they immediately put me on chemo, got me going. They jumped all over it and got me got my counts down. They told me it never been cured, but they could put it down, where
Yeah.
kind of lay low.
Yeah, manageable.
So I did that. It stayed really good for 6 or 8 months. They wanted me to go get a stem cell transplant, so I did that. They told me it will last about 3.5 years, and it did, and it started coming back. But they jumped all over it. They're on top of this stuff. They jumped all over it. They got it back down. I haven't had any chemo now in 4 months, and they just do it month by month.
Yeah.
And, but my counts, I watch my counts too. Do you use My Health Vet?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody ought to have My Health Vet, and you need to get the premium if you don't have it.
Yeah.
The premium, you just go in to Fort Worth up here. Fort Worth.
Yeah, right
VA,
down on 30.
Into admin, and you give her your name and she'll sign you up. And then you can go in and you can I can see all my blood tests. I can see all the notes that the doctors do on me.
That's great.
Can't understand them, but and but that is, and I want to stress that if you're a veteran, you need to join the VA. You need to get your VA card.
I agree.
Yes. And now maybe you won't have any disability. I started at 30%, neuropathy and hearing. And then when they found out the had multiple myeloma, they immediately put me 100%.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't imagine the cost of the chemo. When I was doing the stem cell transplant, they give you, excuse me, they give you shots to stimulate your stem cells before they take them. Those shots are $5,000 a piece.
Oh my goodness.
First one didn't work for me. I had to have 2 of them to get the amount of stem cells that they needed.
Yeah.
So, as civilians, if you ain't got insurance, you ain't going to afford it. You're just going to have to go,
Yep.
But anyway, they've done that through the stem cell was perfect. I said, it was a success. 3 days after I had it, I got shingles, and the medicine they give me shut my kidneys down. I was in a coma for a week, but they were right on top of it. And
the way you talk, I can't even imagine you being out for a week.
Well, that ain't the worst yet. But anyway, I don't think I told you my brother-in-law David. The last one time he
was on there. Yeah,
he was the one when I woke up from the coma. He was the one that was there. The first one I saw, I said, "You ain't Mary." but anyway, I got up and they 2 weeks of therapy and I was home.
Yeah,
I went home and I went 6 months and I got double pneumonia, and that put me on a ventilator for 10 days. And that's what's hard to recover. It took me 3 months.
All that buildup on the lungs.
And your muscles just die.
I've had pneumonia twice in my life, and each time it was the worst pain. I couldn't breathe. It was just.
Yeah. But, I was retired. If it would have been Medicare, we had to take care of all this,
Yeah.
And by them being in the service, they've taken care of it. I get some months I have 2 or 3 doctors appointments. I had a pulmonary, I had
Yeah.
hematology, rheumatology, oncology. I'm going to see a podiatrist, and they make these appointments. And when my count in between the counts are there's one count they look at, it's supposed to be 0.
Yes.
It stayed less than 0 for 3.5 years.
Wow.
Then went in October for every 6 months, and it was less than 0. I went back in February and it was 122. That means it went like that.
Yeah.
That's what they expect. When they say that, oh, it's coming back, they immediately put me back on chemo. I was taking a shot once in the belly once a week, and it went back down.
Yeah.
It's down. It's not 0,
Yeah.
but the last count was 19. So we're going good. They're taking good care of it. And I go back every month. They give me a blood test, and they take. And it's not just oncologists. They have when I go over to Dallas.
Yeah, they have every type of
they got
specialist
everything
imaginable.
you can imagine over there, plus the hospital and they've got now Dallas. When I first moved down there, Dallas had a really bad reputation. But now I think it's one of the top.
It is, but
top 5.
back up just a couple years ago it was bad.
Yeah. Well, it gotten really. They got a new director or something. It's gotten really good.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to bring up politics, but President Trump fired almost the entire VA administration from almost all the main VA facilities. Just fired them all because of all these veterans that were dying in the waiting room because they weren't being watched. So they fired them all and got new people that were actually attentive to these veterans,
Yeah, well, you go over to the emergency room now, you may be there 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, but when you get there, they take your blood,
they do what they're supposed to.
And then, I mean, there's 25 people in there. Well, they've only got 30 rooms back there to put you in. So last time I was there, I was there 4 hours from the time I got there to the time we left.
Yeah.
But it was, but I went in one day. I went in at one time. I didn't feel good, and the doctor come in and says, "You got noble pneumonia. You're going to have to go on a ventilator."
Oh my goodness!
And I said, "Whoa!"
I wouldn't even have known it.
No. The only thing is that it was, and all that. I didn't lose much weight at all. You would think you did. I didn't. I was on a feeding tube for 6 weeks, and you would thought I would lose some weight.
Feeding tube diet. No.
And I didn't lose no weight.
Damn.
And now they got me. Now just to show you. About a month ago, I was really feeling bad. I had pneumonia back in May, and they put me on steroids, real heavy steroids. Well, in July, I was on 10 milligrams a day, and they cut me off. She said, "You're good." She cut me off. The next month, I got to where I couldn't walk across the room without hardly walking. Went to pulmonary. They had a pulmonary appointment. Walked in, and she said, "Well, how come they took you off steroids?" I said, "I don't know. I'm not a doctor, She said, "That's your problem." She said, "They cut you off steroids too quick."
Yeah.
She put me back on them and put me on a program. I have felt so much better since. I mean, I just feel a lot better.
I want to get down a little bit personal with you.
Okay.
How are you feeling about the future? Do you have
the future?
About your future?
Okay, let me put it this way. 3 weeks ago, my wife and I have always said we're going to travel till we can't travel no more.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, we thought we got to that point. She had her gallbladder taken out, so we were both feeling bad, and so we thought, well, maybe this is it, Well, she got her gallbladder out, and she's feeling better. She's having therapy now and physical therapy and everything. These steroids seem to be working. We're going to San Antonio tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
On a trip. First one we've had.
I was just there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And we're going down there for 3 days, and then in October, middle of October, we're going to Arkansas. I'm going to go deer hunting with my brother-in-law, muzzleload hunting, and I'm going to take my 22, and he swears I will see a squirrel. He says there's squirrels. I didn't see any last time, but anyway. But so, and we're starting to feel better. As far as my future, we're feeling good.
Good.
You know, I think that maybe we're back on the track, and we're talking about a cruise in February. We like go on her birthday or ours.
No, I see you post photos of you on a cruise all the time. You
Yeah.
look happy. I mean,
Oh yeah. We feeling. Yeah, you know, when you're not feeling good, it's you kind of wonder,
I know.
you know, and
that's me every morning when I wake up.
Okay, you know, when you get up from the lounger, a recliner, and you walk 20 feet to the bedroom, and you're going.
Yeah, I know, taking heavy breaths. Yeah, that's when it's a problem. Yeah.
And so and tired all the time. Couldn't drink enough Monsters to make me feel better. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That'll really get your heart going.
Yeah. But they VA
Yeah.
once again have got me back. And I want to encourage any veteran out there
Just
that's
do it.
listening. If you're
Tell 'em,
not,
do
if
it.
you don't have your VA card, go get it. Even if you don't need it, you can show it and get
never
discounts
know.
anywhere all
Yeah,
over town. You know?
never know.
Yeah.
Larry, before we got about 3.5 minutes or so before the show is over, and until next time, if you had a young child sitting in front of you, or a young teenager, somebody who didn't know what a veteran was, what would you tell them a veteran was, and what does it mean to be a veteran?
Well, a veteran is someone that has left his family, probably has sacrificed and has done it all because he, just like you, he wanted to give back something to his country, and he wanted to make his country proud of him.
That's awesome. That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah. And the problem right now, I tell Mary this, young kids today, youngsters,
Yeah, they don't understand.
they don't have any respect because they've never been through what we've been through.
Imagine if we had a modern draft.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they were forced to be involved.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who was it?
They'll really know real quick.
Yeah. There was somebody, some actor the other day said that he thinks that every guy coming out of high school should go into the service for 2 years.
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever his name is, he's the one running for president.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, he would do a 6-month to a 1-year mandatory military service for all men and women because they're all about equality. So it'd be men and women.
Yeah, and they don't respect the country now because they've never been through what it took to make this country what it is.
Yeah. Well, they're also spoiled.
Well, yeah, it's a different generation. You know, it's not a generation where you had to work to make a living.
Yeah. All right, we got about 2 minutes left, Larry. What was, or if you can recall, what would you say is the happiest day in your life?
Well, I've actually got about 3.
Tell us what your happiest
day
days
I got married.
Okay, that's 1.
First child born.
2.
I wasn't here, but I was happy.
Okay.
Second child born.
Okay.
And the kind of the day I graduated from college.
Okay.
But those are the 3 events in my life that, you know, I wouldn't trade for nothing.
If you had to pick the worst day in your life, what would you say is the worst day in your life that you can recall out of your 22 years in this world?
22 years.
Just complimenting you.
Yeah. The day I left for Vietnam. That
was the worst day.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
That was, the guy, when I tried to get them to change it, my orders, they told me, said they can let me stay till the baby's born. You can hold the baby, kiss him on the forehead, and they'll take you to the airport.
Yeah.
No, that'd be even worse.
Yeah, that'd be the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was the worst day for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Vet for Vets. My name is Angelo Rocha. Larry, this was Larry Rasberry. He's a really good friend of mine. He thank you for stopping by and talking about a little bit about yourself, about your life in the military before, during, and after. And good luck with your Good luck with everything that's going on.
thank
And
you.
I'd
Thank you.
gladly bring you back on if you're feeling healthy.
Hey, you
know.
call me. I just live 5 minutes from here.
Yeah,
Call
that's
me
good.
anytime.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, Larry.
Okay.
Love you, man. I love you,
Thank
seriously.
All
Okay,
right.
ladies and gentlemen, this was Vet for Vets. Thank you for listening and have yourself a really good night.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County.